From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. It's Miami Week. Let's go! Use the promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. We're rocking and rolling over there on warchant.com. Hope you folks are able to join us and the tribe, if you will. We're all there rallying around each other, Corey, trying to get positive vibes, trying to pull the rope in the right direction, to row the boat, to climb the mountain, to do something, to control what we can control. We're trying to do all of that. Are you? I am.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. You know me. I'm all about the team, and I'm all about moving forward. I don't like to reflect and think about the past. I'm always looking ahead, the road ahead, buddy. And yeah, it's going to take all of us, isn't it, Aslan? Not just to get through the Miami week, but to get through this season. And we've done it so far. We've rowed the boat now for what? How long has this thing been in our lives? 7 months? Come on, we can keep doing it. We're just going to row the boat in perpetuity, it would appear.
And we're going to climb up the mountain with the kayak attached to our back and scream victory from the highest point in Dade County after we shock the world.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. I know you believe it.
Hey, this is just, I hate doing this because I know people are here because they're Florida State fans or maybe some crazy Miami lunatic fans. They want to hear, upbeat information about their team. It's a rivalry game. You never know what can happen. I think I'm going to ask one of these coaches by the end of the week. I don't know how much rivalries mean anymore. Or maybe it's just because we're down right now. It's not number 7 versus number 12. It's not 1 versus 2. It's 13 versus, one of the only, 30 teams that hasn't won a football game yet. So maybe that kind of is why I'm so jaded right now. Not like on the overall direction of the program or anything, but guys looking out for themselves, trying to get tape, draft stock. We're worried about the playoff. When a rivalry doesn't have a whole bunch on the line, I just feel like it doesn't have the same oomph. And I need the oomph to bring it every day on this show.
Yeah, but when was the last time that FSU Miami was FSU Miami? You know what I mean? If you want to use that as a gauge, it's been since the 13 game. I don't even think counts because I thought Miami was smoke and mirrors.
Right.
And we all knew how that game was going to go. I think, man, I don't know, 2000. I mean, it's been a long time, but that's the thing. It's
2003. 2003.
Yeah, that's a good point. It still matters, though, man. You know what I mean? I think it really does still matter, and it does feel different. No, I mean, I think the energy inside a stadium now, maybe not. Maybe not with whatever 9,000 people that are going to be there, but the energy inside the stadium, I'm just telling you, it feels different when it's FSU Miami, typically, especially down there. I don't know why, but down there, because maybe that's the only time they go to games, it always has just felt, no matter if Florida State was number 1 and Miami wasn't ranked, it still had a lot of energy to it. So I think it's still there, man. I think it matters. 18 did. Yeah.
It was good to see the dejection on their faces. I just remember, I'm like, this is amazing. I can't believe we're doing this to them. And then when we stopped doing it to them, that kind of sucked. I just maybe it's also with where we're at right now. I mean, this maybe a lot of it too is I still have the hate in my heart for Miami that I have for Florida. I probably should have figured out a way to transplant that hate into my heart because I don't have to use it this year. Although, I mean, I don't know, at some point in mid-October, I probably will stop caring about Florida State games and just root like hell for whoever Florida's playing. And they're 5th right now. They're 5th. I mean, they got like a
well, let's see what they look like. Let's see what they look like, buddy. They haven't played a game yet, man. They might lose the opening week. You never know.
lose. That's all I have to look forward to is that them, because I think they believe. I think some of that they believe. I think some of them actually believe. So I want to see their hopes crushed before them. I want to soak in their tears.
You want to see it early too. You want to see it happen early. I got you.
Yeah.
I just want to see Purdue lose so they can join Oregon State and Florida State as the. Well, then Oregon State's got it. Well, the Pac-12 isn't coming back. Maybe we don't know. I don't know if the Pac-12 is coming back or not.
Yeah, they're going to try. I think they're going to. Yeah,
so
come on, you can't be the
Purdue.
only ones.
I don't know. I don't even know who Purdue's playing.
Michigan,
but when they come
Michigan.
back,
They're supposed to play Michigan, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then they're gonna join Florida State and Oregon State.
Let's go.
That'll be cool. Yeah, there you go. That's good company. Rubbing elbows with the Boilermakers.
So on Monday, we spoke to head football coach Mike Norvell. He's still the head football coach despite his battle with COVID-19. We also spoke to acting head coach, tight ends coach, deputy head coach Chris Thompson, and defensive coordinator Adam Fuller. Really lots to talk about here. Mainly I think Thompson and Norvell. Kind of wish they would have spread out Fuller to another day. We went really long with Norvell. I think nearly 25 minutes speaking to him. By the time we got Fuller, he was backed up on his schedule and had meetings with his team and position group. So, wish we kind of maybe able to spread that out. But I'm not going to complain about it. Thanks to Florida State. They did a really great job on Monday, too, juggling everything with Norvell's at home right now because he does have COVID. He wasn't joining us from his usual spot, his usual perch. He wasn't in his office at the Moore Center. He was at his home. So we did speak to him. First off, he sounded to me like he's a little bit under the weather.
Okay.
He said he wasn't. Some people on Warchant said that he wasn't either. This is all a hoax, et cetera, et cetera. I had to lock that thread. I thought he sounded like he was a little nasally, a little bit under the weather, but he said he feels fine, so he says he feels fine, so we'll take his word for it. Do we know, Corey? I thought he made it pretty clear that he's not going to coach on Saturday, but apparently I'm multitasking here. Not that you're not multitasking. You're listening and you're typing in real time, but, I've got a couple plates I'm spinning over here on my fingers. Like, he's not going to coach on Saturday. It sounds like they want to see maybe if there's some way, but I'm not counting on him coaching on Saturday.
Well, I'm not either, but yes, he definitely left the door open, and not the door open that people might think that, okay, he can coach from his couch. That's not going to happen, and the reason is if he's not at the game, you can't do anything remotely. You can't coach remotely. You can't text. You can't FaceTime because, what would keep Bobby Bowden from watching a game and then sending a text to someone or Bill Belichick or anything else. Like you could have analysts watching the game on TV at their house and then trying to pick up stuff. It's just you have to be in the stadium as a rule to be a part of the team, to coach the team, to give suggestions. So I thought maybe they could make an exception because of incredible circumstances this year, but apparently that's not going to happen. But he was asked about Dillingham taking over the offense and being the main play caller. And he specifically said, if that happens, I think Kenny can do it. I think Coach Dillingham can do a great job with it. And I'm like, well, that's interesting if that happens. And then you asked him later on about what he's allowed to do. Like, it was the last question. What he's allowed to do as far as coaching is concerned from his couch. Can he text? And then that's when he said, no, you can't be there. He's not available if he's not there. Yeah. But then he talked about, and you asked him about what they do with the coaching staff. And they said they bring in, who's it, Tokars?
Yeah, Tony.
Who's a offensive analyst who was the tight ends coach at Memphis last year. Correct. And he would be the 10th or I guess the 11th on-field coach for that day. And he'd probably be in the box. Yeah. So, but again, he said, if that happens, if I'm not there, then it will be Tokars that's in the box. So he threw two ifs out there, which leads you to think that my man is hoping, trying, begging, pleading, trying to figure out a way that he can be somehow there, maybe off in one of those empty sections in 402 with nobody else in the section, wearing headsets suggesting plays. That's the only thing I can think. It's not like he's going to just flaunt and say, I don't believe in this stupid disease. I'm going to be on the side. He can't do that. No, I don't. He's not suggesting doing that. He's not trying to do that. He doesn't want to be near the team, and he doesn't want to make anything unsafe. But it sure seems like he's trying to figure out, and I would too. Like, imagine you're Mike Norvell. I'm imagining I'm Corey Clark being Mike Norvell. I got this awesome job. It's one of the games that's the biggest in the country. It's my second game. I'm coming off that dud in the opener. I want to prove myself. I want to be there more than anything. What suggestions would I come up with to try to make sure I could be in the stadium and help call plays and run the game, even though I'm not anywhere around other people? My suggestion would be I drive down the day of the game. The only place I stop is for gas. I don't go inside. I don't talk to anyone. I don't even look at anyone else. I get to the stadium, I don't know, 5 hours early and just walk up to section 404, one that's going to be completely empty, get my headset, and just take a nap until the game starts. And then when the game starts, I'm on the headsets with Thompson and Dillingham trying to get a win.
I wonder if there's got to be some sort of rule, like you can't be in the stands. You either have to be like on the field or in the box. I wonder if they could just give them like a box. Like, I mean,
why? I mean, I guess they could give him an empty box. I'm sure they're not all taken. But then, how do you get him to the box without coming into contact with anyone? How does he get back home?
Ebola. I mean, he can't be around people for like 15 minutes. I mean,
sure. But it is you're the first major head coach.
Hazmat suit.
Dude, if he comes in looking like Dustin Hoffman in Outbreak, I'm all for it. Like just straight like Rene Russo, Dustin Hoffman, Cuba Gooding, like the Kevin Spacey. I should have mentioned him probably, but 3 of those people we like. And he's just up in a box all by himself in that yellow hazmat suit with the big bubble helmet. Yeah, man. And as long as you can get a headset in there, and we know they worked an Outbreak. They were talking to each other on headsets. So yeah, he did not dismiss it though, which I thought it still seemed like he was holding out hope that there's some avenue, some chance he can do it. And I think that's probably just wishful thinking. I don't know that the first head coach of a major college program is down. It goes to the game that when he's supposed to be quarantined and isolated. But again, if he's sitting in a box by himself with nobody near him, and he's got a way to get to an elevator by himself and get down back to his car and then get on the turnpike by himself, he's isolated completely in a car. I don't know. I guess it's not the craziest thing. He could sit in a parking lot and help call plays. He just can't. I don't think they allow it where you can be somewhere other than the
arena,
other than the stadium, other than the arena calling plays.
Yeah, I just wonder what would we be thinking if Dan Mullen was trying to do this? We'd be like, "Come on, man! Like what are you doing? You have it. It's a virus. It's a real thing. You lost. We'll see you next week." But hey, it's not Dan Mullen. It's our coach, so we'll probably find reasons to bargain in our minds.
But I thought it was, I just think that's wishful thinking. We probably already talked too much about it, but it was interesting, and it did catch my ear twice that my man was still saying if. But I thought it was really interesting about the practice stuff, and that they had a walkthrough on Saturday that he couldn't participate in, but by Sunday, the video crew had rigged up his system enough and got him on the computers where he had access to I guess 4 or 5 different cameras on the practice fields. Yeah. And he could alternate between fields and between cameras on each field. So he can literally watch everything. And from behind, he can watch the offense. And then he can watch the defense, and he can watch position drills. And he ran the team meetings virtually. And he can run this, and he can go from meeting to meeting, from like the DB's meetings to the special teams meetings to the linebackers to the receivers. He can be in all those meetings virtually now. It's all set up that way. So I thought that was really interesting that he can communicate with the coaches during practice, through speakers of some. So I don't know if it's a walkie-talkie or they actually have his speaker. Like they have a speaker where he can shout out over the field, but he can communicate to the coaches during practice from his couch.
I don't know what to think, Corey. It seems so bizarre. I appreciate the effort he's going to, and I understand. I mean, you mentioned, hey, you've got this great job. This is one of the biggest games of the season for this program. I mean, surely you want to exhaust every single avenue and option to be there. I mean, these are your guys. This is your team. I mean, he mentioned that the Saturday walkthrough might have been the first walkthrough he's ever missed as being part of a football team, whether that's a coach or a player.
Right.
And just how
first
emotional.
practice, first any practice, practice of any kind that he missed. Yeah.
I just to hear him talk about all that, and I understand I understand him wanting to be involved in every single thing until they basically leave the hotel on Saturday. But the way Chris Thompson talked about, yeah, man, nothing's going to change. He's still around. He led all of our meetings the other day. He led, the team meeting. He led coaches meetings. I'm going to be coaching tight ends. Chris Thompson says, my job doesn't change. I just don't understand how that's going to really be the best. I know you want to try your best to be involved. It's your team. The buck stops with you. You're the head football coach. I mean, golly, you want to get this thing turned around sooner than later. And if you were able to pull off an upset against Miami, it would be amazing. But I just wonder, like, how diluted the message gets from a coach who you know is not going to be there on game day, who's tested positive for this virus that you're all been trying your best to avoid, and somehow he gets it. I don't know if there's any kind of underlying resentment players might have towards that. But I do wonder if just sometimes it might be just to let go. I mean, maybe a few days of game prep, but then like after Thursday, just like hands off. Like you trust all these guys. You hired them for a reason, but maybe that's even more ridiculous to say hands off as a coach as opposed to like, hey, let's do every single humanly possible thing to be involved, even though everyone knows like I can't be there for them.
Yeah, and he's not wired that way, number one, to just be hands off. But also it's his second game. Like if this was year 4, if this was Jimbo in year 2015, there's a chance. But Mike Norvell in game 2, it's really, really, as we can tell, he's still trying to figure out a way to rent a party bus and get to Miami for the game on Saturday. I think it's really hard to just say, you know what, I got to take a step back, especially if he doesn't look, he might not feel great, but he wasn't on his deathbed. He wasn't knocked out for the count like some people get with COVID. Yeah. So he feels like he owes it to his team. He's preached to them for 8 months about, being tough and being resilient and facing adversity and responding and all that. So he doesn't want to just back out and say, all right, good luck, guys. I'll see you for the Jacksonville State game. So I get that part of it. Number one, I think when Thompson was talking about the tight ends, I don't think he meant like during the game he's just going to be worried about what Cam McDonald's doing. I think he meant during practice. His sole focus during practice is going to be tight ends because Norvell's voice is still going to be the main voice of these practices. That's the idea anyway. So
yeah, that
and Dillingham too,
like how is practicing not going to? We're going to do everything the same as if he's still here. Like that to me seems.
He's the head coach though, right? Like you're not going to have his voice like all across the field necessarily, but it's still going to be run the same way. Like Dillingham's still a loud guy, Papuchis is still a loud guy, Fuller is off doing the defensive stuff anyway. So I don't think necessarily the flow of practice will change. The vibe might be a little different because he's not out there.
Well, I mean, that was one of the questions I asked Chris Thompson was just, like, listen, to Corey's point, like they have this multi-camera setup where he can see behind the quarterback, he can see, like all 22, he can see, different angles of what's going on, different fields, what's going on. He's got all this available to him. So, like, you as Chris Thompson, if he has all this data, if he has all this footage he's looking at, like, what is your role going to be then? Like, wouldn't you lean on Chris Thompson? Like, all right, man. Like, I see everything on film, but like you saw James Blackman's eyes, you saw, Emmett Rice's reaction on a missed assignment. Like, what is like the feeling? He's like, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. We'll be fine. We're gonna kind of do what we've been doing, and I think it's just almost. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that they're going to keep practicing, just like nothing is like they're not entering the biggest game of the season. And
yeah, but what's the alternative? Like you can't when you're building a program, you can't all of a sudden just be like, "Hey guys, I'm bowing out. Thompson's your coach. Listen to him." That's not his personality, number one, and Norvell or Thompson's. And again, he can't. It is set up in 2020. This isn't 1995. Like he does have access to everything. He can be in every meeting. He can watch literally every snap of practice. So it doesn't have to change that much. And it'd be weird to just say, Coach, take the week off. We got it. No, you don't. We all watched the opener, and none of y'all have been here longer than 7 minutes. So he doesn't think you got it. So he is going to be involved. And I don't know that I think it's better like this than the players be like, well, where's Coach? He doesn't even care this week? If he's healthy enough, you know what I mean? Like if he's knocked out and down for the count, then obviously he doesn't need to be worrying himself about this. But if he feels relatively okay, absolutely he's going to be doing this. And I think most coaches would, whether it's year 1 or year 6. I think most coaches would really want to be a part of the game planning. And what Norvell said was that you were there, you heard it, but that once they leave the hotel is when his communication is done with.
Yeah.
on Saturday for the game. But you best believe he's going to be up late Friday night with them, doing the Zoom meeting with the whole staff. He's going to do the walkthrough on Saturday morning. He's going to be a part of that. He's going to probably be a part of the team meeting. Heck, he might record himself giving a motivational speech from his couch or from his backyard and send that and play that on the screen in the locker room or something. It's uncharted territory, man. This is crazy. I've never covered a team where a head coach couldn't be at the game.
No.
And I've been doing this for a long time, high school and college. I've never covered this. I covered one game total. Like Leonard Hamilton got coached when he passed the kidney stone. And Mike Martin got really sick one game up. It was when Jameis was the closer. Got really sick one day up in Winston-Salem and couldn't coach. That's the only time I've coached. In thousands of games, I think it's the only time I've been in a game where the head coach wasn't there. And so, yeah, man, this is really uncharted stuff. And they're trying to do the best they can, but I do believe them when they say that the summer and the spring helped. Like they did Zoom. They got used to Zooming. They got used to team meetings on Zoom and teaching that way. So I do think it's, the best of a not ideal situation. But if they're not going to block Miami, what does it matter?
Yeah.
They could have 17 coaches.
I guess the clumsy thing I was just trying to say is that if you see your coach walk into a meeting with like a neck brace and a crutch on, it kind of like, I don't know, it's like you see him weak and you're like, can we really get fully on board with what's going on here? And then it's like for everybody to be involved, and I know they did all this over spring and summer, but like everybody had to Zoom. No one was allowed to be all together as a team. And the fact that they're all practicing, and it's like they're going to have to, all right, like everyone else got our laptops and hear what coach has got to say, as opposed to like, hey, practice is done, let's all huddle up. I don't know, maybe they'll huddle up during practice and they can put him on a PA and he's going to talk to him. There's so much of this game 2, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you are. So much, I think, is emotion, the mental aspect of it. How do you manage your emotions going to this game? And, like, you're not going to have your head coach there. And this whole week is going to be this weird quasi-social experiment of how you get a coach to coach when he's not actually on site. And everything the coaches have mocked fans and media for the last 80 years of armchairing, and you think you know this, and you're safe at home, and there that's what he's going to be doing. He's coaching from home in his beautiful office, in his beautiful home. That's where he's going to be coaching from, making all of his decisions in a safe haven that is not the reality of what that team is undergoing. And I'm not faulting him. Like, I'm not trying to blame him. I mean, to your point, like, yeah, man, like he's the coach. Like every coach, all hands need to be on deck. We saw how bad this team looked on Saturday. I just wonder ultimately like how it's going to resonate with a team going to play a really formidable opponent that looks really dangerous and is going to create all sorts of problems in terms of matchups. And I just wonder, with everything this team dealt with in the offseason and the drama, the social media, and all this kind of stuff, like where they're at this early. And he's not going to be there by their side going to this game. Like this game really, it went from I don't feel good about it to just like cringe horror show.
Great. Well, I hope everybody still tunes in for the next few days of Wake Up Warchant. We're going to give you reasons to believe that to be optimistic at some point. Yeah, man. Look, I don't know what else to say other than it's not ideal. What else can you do? I mean, it's an awful situation for him. And there is a chance that without their head coach there, that things that just it has a different feel in that locker room. It doesn't feel the same. But I don't know what else. I don't know what else. You just hope that they overcome it and play through it, or that he's up in, like I said, section 402, or he's in his bed and they bring a hospital bed up to one of those boxes and he's in there inspiring from behind the glass in his hazmat suit. I don't know, man. I didn't think they had a great chance anyway before this. So it doesn't really change my viewpoint much of the game, other than, it's almost like, and this is me thinking out loud. It's not what I think is going to happen necessarily, but not having your head coach there is a pretty nice excuse to have for not playing well. And you just hope, and this is a team that hasn't been strong-minded in a long time, and it's just it's a nice excuse to maybe fall back on if things don't go your way early, and that's what you hope doesn't happen. Like, man, our head coach isn't here anyway. We're already down 17-3. We can't catch a break. woe is us. It's always bad luck for Florida State. We're always having bad things happen to us. That kind of mindset can be contagious, and a game can get out of hand quickly. But the opposite can happen too. They can do it for them. You know what I mean? Hey, Ron Zook was a dead man coaching in 2004.
That's right.
Coming to Bobby Bowden Field.
That's right.
And they rallied and beat that great team, the Gators did. And that wasn't a good Gators team. So anything can happen, man, in a rivalry game.
I've got faith. I think Chris Thompson he was being very deferential to Mike Norvell. I do think, I am hoping that Chris Thompson's going to go rogue on Saturday and just be like, listen, you guys all make me sick. I cannot believe, I'm glad I wasn't your head coach last week. I would have vomited all over myself. You all have this opportunity to redeem yourselves, your family name.
Yep.
It's the Miami game.
It's
your team. Reach down, deep inside, find a way to fix it, be a pro. Let's go.
It's not their time.
It's our time.
It's our time.
It's our time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
He could tell the defense before the game, hey, guys, if they don't score, we win.
Yeah, that's right.
Give them that bold Bobby Bowden quote.
Oh, man. Yeah, nice little homage to Coach Bowden via Chris Thompson. Growing up in Texas, watching the, fan of Coach Bowden, fan of Coach Gladden. He recruited Texas, so he knew what to say to the flock that was listening. Also, prayers, out to Coach Bowden. I guess he was hospitalized, had some cancerous growth removed off his leg, so that's always scary when you get up into your 90s, but he's a fine,
It's always scary, period. But he's good now? Everything good, we hope?
Yeah. That's what,
all right, good.
Was reported. Meanwhile, we spoke to Adam Fuller a little bit more about football, less about the whole sort of fiasco that's going on with not having a head coach. He mentioned, obviously scouting a team. It's all about the quarterback. You want to take away what the quarterback can do well, which then made me think, like, what do defensive coordinators think when they watch Florida State on film right now? He seems to have, like, De'Aaron King's got his attention. Like, this Miami offense has his attention.
Sure.
I don't know. I feel like we're undersold him. Maybe I'm overselling De'Aaron King and you're underselling him, so the truth is somewhere in the middle here. I just do wonder, like, what he thinks, like, how he's going to slow down a defense when he has no pass rush. Or maybe, like, they're going to hopefully do, like, an inside-outside thing where the defensive tackles can kind of create something. Because looking at the depth chart, Corey, nothing has changed other than specialists. Everything was oars going to the Georgia Tech game. Place kicking is still an oar between Ryan Fitzgerald and Parker Grotehouse. But Master Romano's now your punter. Clearly, your snapper, Garrett Murray. Tommy Martin's your holder. No more oars. Isaiah Bolden's gone, so now Corey Wren is also kick returning with Travis J. The only difference on the depth chart is that Hamsa got added. And we don't even know if he will. I mean, he got added, so he figured he'd be available, but there was no sort of elaboration on whether or not he could be made available for the game. Maybe does Hamsa change a whole bunch of stuff? What do you think about what he had to say about the Miami offense? Was it just coach speak, or do you think he kind of has a little bit of a knot in his throat about what he has to deal with on Saturday?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was coach speak. He's pretty good about not doing that kind of stuff. I think, he talked about, obviously, De'Aaron King, and he said that, they do, so far through two, and he kept making that qualification through 2 games, that they've done whatever they've wanted. So they feel really good about themselves, and they should. But they run when they want to run. They pass when they want to pass. That was his main. That's the thing I thought he kept coming back to, is the running game, and kind of shifting it away from De'Aaron King a little bit, because it's more than just him. They're all playing well, and they're all playing very confidently. Trust me, Miami's going into that game on Saturday thinking they're going to put up 50. You hope they don't, but they're going into that game, and Florida State's offense is going into that game hoping they put up 25, 22. Like, it's just a completely different mindset right now between those two offenses. But yeah, he talked about the how much you pressure, how much you don't. But the main thing he brought up both times was you got to tackle in space. Whether you're playing back, you're playing zone, you're playing a little passive, or you're being aggressive and trying to bring pressure, you've got to tackle that guy in space. So we'll see. I think I don't want to sound like I don't think De'Aaron King is good. He is. But some of those plays Louisville made on defense, literally, you would have thrown them the ball left-handed.
But
you would have thrown for 280 yards.
How talented he is, I think, creates those situations. Like, I don't think
Absolutely.
James Blackman's going to make Louisville look that silly and unprepared.
Because you
Sorry,
have to
James.
prepare for what he can do with his legs, and that's why I keep coming back to this. But that's why I would hope that they come up with a game plan to have a quarterback running the ball more, because that defensive end can't just crash down the line every time there's a mesh play with the quarterback and the running back, because there's a chance De'Aaron King is going to pull. Trust me, no defensive ends are just busting down the line on a zone read against Miami, because De'Aaron King can run around him for 35 yards. He hasn't done it yet this year because he hasn't had to. But that's also why it's opening up other things. That's why some things seem so open, is because they have to account for him. So he's a handful, man. He presents a lot of challenges. I don't know that he's a Heisman candidate. But he presents a lot of challenges, and it's going to be tough for them to. You just hope they can slow him down. They've had 2 weeks now to prepare. They've gotten to watch UAB and Louisville. They've had 2 weeks now to prepare. And he's coached against Lashley before, not to great success, but he's coached against this offense a couple of times, so he's at least familiar with it. But then on the same token, obviously, Rhett Lashley, who's the OC, the first-year OC at Miami, he was at SMU. He was also at Auburn for the national championship game. He's the one that said we could have named our score if they'd have not made so many mistakes. So he's coached against Fuller.
That?
Oh yeah, the next like on their spring booster tour when they were talking about how close they came, he's like, "Man, I'm telling you, if we'd have done just a few other things correctly, we could have named our score."
We should have a tribute to the 2013 team at Doak with just like the quotes from coaches afterwards. Like some had some really nice things to say. Like a lot of them were deferential and bent the knee to Jimbo.
I was going to say almost all of them, other than Dabo.
Yeah, the Dabo's 5 out of 10 thing or whatever.
In hindsight, though, that's a brilliant thing to say. Obviously, it wasn't true, but it wasn't like if they'd have lined it up the next week that all of a sudden Clemson's going to win that game, in my opinion. But you don't want your fan base and you don't want your team to think that team's just way out of our league. There's no chance we could beat them. So you do, even if it's not true, you try to say, man, just things went our way. We turned the ball over too much. He didn't know LaMarcus Joyner was that fast. Whatever you want to say so your team still believes and your fan base still believes in you. And then 2 years later they're.
What if Jimbo would have said that about Oklahoma after 2010?
He would have.
Willie would have said that after Clemson in 2018.
Yeah, no, they would have. And look, Dabo got lampooned for it, and he wasn't right. But Buddy, ever since then, his team still believes in what they're doing. His team has not slowed down, and the other team has gone in a completely different direction. So maybe it's good to lie to them occasionally and just blow them up, tell them how much they want to, how close they are. Yeah, I would have been. Jimbo did not say after Norman in 2010, just a play here or there. I tell you, if we played them next week, I don't know. I mean, golly, Oklahoma could have scored 90 points that game. They legitimately could have made their
they
score.
could have. It was ugly.
But going back to Fuller, I don't think it was coach speak. I think he speaks how he's not going to give us like the game plan stuff. But I thought the stuff that was really interesting was he was talking about the mindset of the team of Miami and how they've had great success early, so they're brimming with confidence. They know they can run this. They feel confident when they're running, and it doesn't matter. He goes, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, it really doesn't even matter who they're playing. They think they're going to play well. And he was talking about it in the guise of De'Aaron King. Like, that's the confidence he gives them because they believe wholeheartedly in that quarterback. And now they believe wholeheartedly in this offense, mainly because of that quarterback. The OC doesn't hurt either. And so, yeah, man, they're going to be a handful. They're good anyway, and they got some talent anyway, and they believe in what they're doing. They play with conviction, and that's a hard team to beat when they play like that, and you don't when you're a little hesitant. But Florida State's had 2 weeks. We'll see. I'm not expecting greatness on Saturday night, but I've been surprised before.
See, man, I take that point that you say, and I almost flip it on its head. This schedule could not have worked out any worse for Florida State, especially losing the way they did against Georgia Tech. I think that the week 2 bye is the biggest sort of waste. I mean, not a waste. They got some stuff done, but there's no head coach, if they had
No.
their druthers, was going to sign up for a week
Absolutely.
2 bye in the middle of all this chaos. And then Miami, meanwhile, plays a decent Louisville team and lights them up. So it's like Florida State, you jump out the gates, you have a bad game, you probably desperately want to get that out of your system, but you can't. You got an off week. And then
None
midst
of
the
this.
off week, your coach.
I agree.
It's so bad.
I agree with you. I think that if there could have been any other game, if the Jacksonville State could have been week 2, and then you win that game, hopefully you've corrected some things. You've seen it corrected in game, not just on the practice field.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I speak about this all the time, and I might speak about it too much. I don't know. I just think confidence is such a huge deal. And there's team-wide confidence as well as player confidence. And I just think Florida State has no confidence. Miami's playing with a ton of it. Now, that can all be wrecked on its head in the second quarter. Like all of a sudden, we saw that in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Like Florida State went down there and had them on the ropes. A team that came into the game very, very confident in front of a full house and was down 27-7. Now, Florida State had won the week before, so they had a little confidence. This team, they still have just the Georgia Tech game to go on, and they don't believe in themselves, man. I think they're at a point where they can't believe in themselves till they give themselves a reason to believe, and maybe that's what happens on Saturday night, even if they don't win, which, if it goes like 2018, maybe not as quite as heartbreaking and not quite as a bit blown lead. But if you go play for play with this team and play well and make them go earn a win and late in the fourth quarter, you're not going to be happy because you're a Florida State fan. And Florida State players aren't going to be happy. They're going to be devastated. But it will also prove to them that they can play with these kind of teams. And they did take a big step from Georgia Tech to Florida State. But yes, I think the bye, I don't even know why I went in that route, but I think the bye comes at a bad time, especially when you lose. And also if it doesn't even get Hampson back on the field. Now it does get it, but the one positive, in my opinion, about having Jacksonville State and this might be a bigger deal later in the year anyway, having Jacksonville State week 3 or game 3 instead of game 2 is that it does give you a chance to get those quarterbacks ready for the rest of the season. Yeah. I don't know that you play because Chubba wouldn't have been able to play this week. I don't think he might not. I mean, I'm talking about this past Saturday. Yeah. He might not be able to play this Saturday, but he probably almost certainly wouldn't have played against Jacksonville State in game 2. So then he doesn't get a chance to learn on the job. Now he gets a chance against Jacksonville State, you hope, theoretically, to learn on the job. And I think down the line, that's going to be more important maybe than even this this bye week in game 2 or in week 2.
Man, just think about, Nikosi Perry threw 4 touchdowns on us in 18.
Yep.
And then the guy that left.
What were hit? But that was where it was like, wasn't he like 11 of 30?
13 of 32 for 204 yards, 4
4 touchdowns. Yeah. Yep.
4 touchdowns. He does that. The guy that threw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, pretty much had his best game of the season last year, ran out of town.
Yep.
And then they've upgraded at that position. That just makes me. And then our defense, meanwhile, we hope they've got better coaching. We feel pretty confident they've got better coaching, but they've only had one game to really implement it. And, with the lack of confidence that you mentioned, it just not an ideal recipe. Offensively, we'll speak to Kenny Dillingham today, and maybe he'll bring the juice. He'll give us some hope and optimism. Maybe, using the whole aggression that Miami's going to bring. And what they did so well in 18 down there was the middle screen game really helped set up so many of the drives they had. And DeAndre actually made a couple good throws on his touchdowns to Gavin and to Terry. But I do wonder, if they go to Tate, maybe, or if they go to Jordan Travis, maybe. He did say that they're going to get all 4 of their quarterbacks ready for the game, I think, Mike Norvell said. So maybe that opens the door.
Yeah, that was a
clumsy question and answer.
Awkward question. Yeah, it was a weirdly worded question. I think what the questioner was trying to ask was if your quarterback starts to struggle, would Chris Thompson have the means to make a change at quarterback? Getting him ready. How would you know who was ready to play or not? And that's how it was kind of worded. That last part was how it was worded. And, of course, Norvell was like, well, we get them all ready to play every week. The question should have just been, if your quarterback gets injured or if your quarterback struggles, who makes the decision who plays next?
Yeah.
I don't know. And so, but yes, I wholeheartedly believe, unless you just take this as like, unless you almost punt on this game and be like, you know what, James Blackman, you've been a great Seminole in the sense that you bleed garnet gold and you try really hard. That's how I use the term great Seminole, not great as in on the field play. It's your hometown team. We're going to let you play them one more time. Come hell or high water, you're in the game. Even if we're down 28-6, we're still going to have you out there chucking it around. And then we don't even have our head coach here. They wouldn't even let him come down. Our horse isn't here. No fans are here. None of this even counts. Yeah, none of this even counts. So just have at it. Whatever happens this game, and then you just wipe the slate clean after Miami, and the season starts anew against Jacksonville State. And you almost treat this as a glorified scrimmage. It just happens to be against Miami.
They need to go
Otherwise,
back.
Otherwise, you have to have a package ready, or you have to have a package ready for somebody else to play quarterback. Don't you?
They need to go back to that plantation and just burn all the film from the first 2 weeks and be like, all right, new season on to Jacksonville State.
What? Where they went for the team
we love
building.
each other. We all started crying.
Yeah.
We're great.
Yeah.
We're gonna win the national
Hey,
title.
come on now. Don't besmirch that. That sounded like a really powerful night for those guys. It's more than just football, Aslan. It's more than just wins and losses.
It is. No, you're right. But I do wonder if you're going to do to use Miami's strength almost against them and their guys rushing off the edge and bringing pressure and playing man coverage. If they do quick throw game, screen game, like wouldn't that, if there's any way you would get thrown into a fire, you don't have a full, stadium down there, so that helps you out if you're Tate Rodemaker, for instance. And then pretty much you're going to only be asked to throw like screen passes. And I'm not saying like do the Alex Hornibrook game plan because that failed miserably. But
Yes.
I wonder if there's a certain part of it where you can Olay Miami into maybe a couple drives and get yourself a couple easy scores maybe. Or like, yeah, it's predicated off getting Corbin off, on a wheel route and then, a 30-yard pickup. And that's something that you can kind of maybe feel comfortable with. It's a nice, easy, gentle touch pass. You're not having to diagnose and throw into a really tight window and zip it in there on time. I do wonder if that opens the window for maybe more of a Jordan Travis package in terms of involvement or maybe Tate or maybe even Chuba. If he's going to be, I think he would be 5 weeks removed from a 6-week surgery. So, or not a 6-week surgery, but a 6-week recovery. So, I really think like the way they'd have to score points against Miami would be the way they did in 18. Get a special team score. They converted so many 3rd and longs against Miami on like screen passes, and they seem to have a pretty decent feel for running that against Georgia Tech. And if you just don't collapse in the second half the way you did last time, then maybe you are in this game, and then crazy things happen. Although they've got the better field goal kicker, I feel like this time around, and
They
better
do.
quarterback.
And the better defensive, well, maybe not the better defensive line, but certainly the better defensive ends. And they got that home crowd. Well, hey, by the way, what are the tickets up to? Or is it still just 86?
I haven't looked at it. I'll check it right now. I do know that the game line moved up. They were a 9-point favorite. They're now an 11-point favorite, Miami.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The more I think about it, like
Ooh, 93. Oh man, this is gonna burn a hole in my
you're
pocket.
getting broke. You're getting broke.
Man,
That's what a lot is at. I'm gonna get a family meal pack from Zaxby's.
Watch our live show. Ray Pereira, throw me some tips on Tuesday night, man.
Yeah, he's gonna need it. He's gonna need it. The more I think about it, though, man, I just can't imagine a scenario where Chuba plays on Saturday.
Yeah.
We can ask Dillingham, but he's not going to tell us even if he's ready. But it's just give him one more week, and wouldn't it make so much more sense to have him start in a game that is more controllable, that he can feel better about himself, and they can win the stupid game. And then go forward. And I'm not saying he starts against them, but I'm against Jacksonville State. But and also give him another week. Like, he hasn't had contact on that shoulder or the collarbone since he broke it. So give him another week to get a little more healthy, a little stronger, and then go from there. I think. And if you're going to have something special, it needs to be one of the Travises. It needs to be the quarterback. if you're going to do something special. And you just got to hope that James Blackman does something that he really hasn't done since he's been here and plays a really sharp game from start to finish.
I mean, he's only 0-1 against Miami, and if, Derwin James would have been out in coverage, might have beat Miami.
Well,
actually.
they might have gone to overtime, yeah. But again, that game was also 0-0 at the half. Well, so it's not like he carved up the Hurricanes that day either. He did have a really nice drive in the fourth quarter when it mattered. And when we all thought he was starting to become a quarterback, and then again, for reasons we don't need to go into, he's not that guy anymore. And that's, again, it's just they're going to bring a lot of pressure at that dude, and it's going to be really hard. He's going to have to see the blitz and then not pay attention so much to it. That's what he's going to have to do for them to have a chance, because there are plays to be made if my man looks downfield and sees the play and sees him, because they're going to be open. But he looks at the rush for reasons we all know, for good, valid reasons, and it's just going to be really hard for him to win this game. Really hard. But, yeah, crazier things have happened, man. Crazier things have happened. So it can happen. But I would be really disappointed if they didn't have multiple packages with multiple guys playing quarterback. If they just did what they did against Georgia Tech, and it was just straight James Blackman for the whole game.
And I'd be shocked if it was that. So I guess that's an encouraging thing too. I do think they had to realize what they were working with on last Saturday, or the Saturday before rather.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to be a recipe, at least right now. I mean, maybe he'll grow later on in the season, but just right now they're not at that point. But I just, at the same time, man, the more you talk about just him having to deal with the pressure and the blitz, I just, Tate Rodemaker, I don't think is built for it right now. I don't think he's ready for it right now. Jordan Travis, I mean, he can run the ball. Well, I don't know how good he sees the field. I mean, he made one throw on Saturday, and it was, pretty much straight into the ground. So that leaves you with a guy that's 5 weeks removed from a 6-week injury.
Yeah.
It's a non-throwing shoulder. I mean, I don't know if I was his dad, if I'd be really stoked about my son having to go down there and probably get beat up. But at the same time, what's going to help you not to avoid the rush is that your arm is hurt. So you're going to run, it's fight or flight every single snap. Your life's depending on it, Chubba. Figure out a way. Save us, man.
Again, I think that's the next week. I think Florida State fans hope that it's close. I think a lot of Florida State fans went in that 18 game thinking, man, this isn't going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And they did. They went in with a nice mindset of, you know what, I just hope they surprise me and play well. Hopefully it's just a game in the fourth quarter. I want to see some improvement. That's what I want to see here in year one from Willie Taggart. And then you're up 27-7 in the second half, and you blow that lead, and you're irate. Which before the game, if you'd have told most Florida State fans, you're only going to lose by a point, you play well, you have a special teams touchdown, they'd be like, oh, wow, we're not going to lose by 30? We're actually going to score 27 points? What? I think they'd have probably taken that. But then the way it happened. So I think for Florida State fans, for your own mental well-being, it's been a tough year for all of us.
It's only week 3.
But it's a tough matchup. Your head coach isn't even there. Go in with just a here goes nothing attitude.
No.
I'm going to watch my team. See how they do this week. But I'm not. I already got my Maker's Mark next to me, or my Mick Ultra. I'm ready to go. Let's just have some fun and watch some college football. See what happens. See what's what. Let's just see what's what. And then go in like that. Don't go in like, oh God, I hope they better win this game. God, please win this game. Because you might get disappointed. But that's also coming from a lifelong Atlanta sports fan. Right. So as you can understand, we have to put up walls. I've got a lot of scar tissue built up. I put up walls. I don't ever let myself care really about anything. The Super Bowl was the final straw. I'm just not. I allowed myself to think they were actually going to be Super Bowl champs. So now, the Braves are going to go to the postseason. And it's a crazy postseason. Anybody could win it. I know the Braves won't. The Braves probably won't even win a game. When you go in like that, it's okay. The disappointment doesn't hurt as bad.
Expect the worst, and you'll never be disappointed, boys and girls.
Right. You'll never be too sad. When you always expect the other shoe to drop, it never hurts that bad when it gets you on the head.
Florida State had an 88% win probability after they went up 27-7 in 2018.
Well, and then remember, it's not like Miami drove right back down the field to make it 27-14. Florida State got the ball back, leading 27-7, and then turned it over on 2 straight possessions, and that's why they lost the game. But what are you going to do?
I guess, last thing I'll say, you're saying it tongue-in-cheek, just, kind of onto Jacksonville State. You really don't know how much you're going to be able to accomplish against Miami. I'm not trying to say this is 2001 Miami. Ken Dorsey and Willis McGahee aren't going to be running out there at Doak South on Saturday. So I don't want to totally just write this off. But then again, the previous 39 minutes of what I said also applies, where it doesn't feel all that encouraging. And this team, I don't think is going to go down there totally downtrodden. My concern, though, is just the whole, again, the aspect of just their coach not being there. If things do go wrong, how will they sort of respond? But at the same time, if they get off to a surprisingly hot start, sky's the limit. They could pull it off. If they if what they do early works and they can stifle Miami, put a little stress on them, make them not have everything work, because they're not used to adversity right now, Miami. They've just been lining up, doing what they want to do, and scoring points. So see what happens when they get punched in the mouth and they can't do what they want to do, and then see what Rhett Lashley's made of. He was at UConn for a little bit. He was sent into exile. So find that broken version of Rhett Lashley. Make him feel that pain. Make him feel like he's in Stores, Connecticut.
Yeah. He went from Auburn to UConn?
Yeah, and then he wound up at SMU, and he's now at Miami. I don't know what his end game is. I guess probably Group of 5 head coaching job, maybe get that Southern Miss job or something, or maybe after Dion leads Jackson State to the SWAC championship. Are they in the MEAC now?
No, I think they're in the SWAC.
Right?
And
FAMU went to the SWAC.
FAMU's
right?
in
Joined
the
them.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dion, by the way. He's a head football coach now, Division I. Good for him.
Yep. Hey, Florida State could have hired him. Their record, the worst their record could be right now is 0-1. All's I'm saying. But yeah, obviously Dion wants to do that we'll see. We'll see if Showtime's record. It could be a Showtime series behind the scenes with Jackson State. I'd watch it. But if he's really dedicated and really wants to do this, which is just odd at this point in your life to pivot and really want to be into coaching, then yeah, he's got an eye down the road to want to be a head coach somewhere. The problem is that I don't know that you go from Jackson State to a big boy job that Dion wants. And I don't know that that's a different kind of life, man. Being the coach at Jackson State, having to recruit the types of, he's not going to be able to go to the Rivals 5-star camps and recruit these guys. He's going to have to recruit different types of kids that aren't as good. It's just going to be it's going to be really fascinating to see how that plays out. And if he's like Isaiah Thomas, remember when Isaiah Thomas coached that team in Florida? Yeah. It was either FIU or FAU.
It was FIU.
Yeah, and I don't know how long you did it, a year, 2 years. They didn't win a lot of games. He's like, screw this. This is hard. And he stopped doing it. He could be like that, or he could really fall in love with it and be good at it. So either way, it'll be fascinating to watch.
Wayne Gretzky was a terrible coach for a little bit. Michael Jordan hasn't been the best GM. A lot of these great guys doesn't work out for him. But no, he's been coaching high school. I tell you, man, they lost to they lost to MRA. They lost to Madison Ridgeland Academy, his team. And Madison Ridgeland Academy is like the third best private school in the Jackson metropolitan area. But now Jackson State's like, hey, we'll make you our head football coach. So,
do you think Dion's the type of guy though that when a kid calls him up and says, "Coach, I've thought about it, and I'm going to Alcorn." But I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you recruiting me. It was an honor. I wish you the best. Is Dion going to take that well? Like being told no? He's never had to recruit somebody and be told no. Yeah. So how is that going to? And I'm not saying he won't. It's just.
Oh, he will. He'll be like, God bless you. He's like, God bless you, man. God put you on that path.
He is such a different personality, man. He has been the best. He has thought of himself as the best cornerback in the world since about 1986. And he's got such a high opinion of himself, which is well earned. And he's such a hard worker, too. Like, that dude was the best practice player that Florida State's ever had. Well, not everybody at Jackson State's going to practice like Deion Sanders. So the whole thing is just really fascinating. And I hope it works out. Hope Jackson State wins a lot of games. Yeah. I assume they play FAMU. I hope they don't beat FAMU, though.
Oh, really? You're going to root for Willie Simmons over
Absolutely,
Deion, your childhood
man.
favorite.
Hometown team. I'm always rooting for FAMU.
All right. I think Ole Miss plays Florida week 1. So
yeah,
come on, Lane Train. Show me why I was sticking up for you for 2 coaching cycles.
Right.
Just win. Just win. Beat Florida. Please just beat them. I had a really great metaphor for Florida fans that I'll save for another show. We did enough. We did enough today. We'll do a live show.
It's been too long.
We'll be back live tonight, Tuesday, maybe like 9-ish. We'll do a little bit late, maybe a little War Chant after hours. But we'll hammer it out. We'll post it on the War Chant Tribal Council, so be on the lookout for that. It'll be your podcast for Wednesday. We're back up and running on iTunes and everything. So, again, we did a show for you all on Friday. If you didn't listen to it, sorry. It wasn't my fault, but it's out there somewhere in the internet. Anyhow, with that said, let's talk to Kenny Dillingham and the offensive players later on this morning. Corey will do his live transcription, as he is so well-equipped to do. So, looking forward to that, Corey. I'll talk to you then, and we'll talk to you all later.
I love you, man.
Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy. Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Order ahead drive-thru or get it delivered.